In the early 1960s, the CIA began Operation MK-Ultra. They were trying to find the perfect mind control weapon through a psychoactive drug known as lysergic acid diethylamide, or LSD. One was a psychologist, a Harvard professor, who became a radical thinker. One was an athlete, a wrestler, who became a famous writer. Both men led the same revolution and became more than allies. Both men were revolutionaries, inspired by a phenomenon that arrived on the doorstep of the 1960s, a phenomenon known as LSD.
LSD is the most powerful substance that the human being has ever developed for influencing the mind. I've used the comparison of nuclear energy or a fissionable material. I think that in the right hands and with scientific and disciplined and hopeful people, it will bring about changes.
Most people come back from an LSD trip and they say, there's only one word you can use. Wow.
Timothy Leary had already led a full life before he discovered LSD at age 39. He was born in 1920 and grew up in a suburb of Boston, Massachusetts. Throughout high school, Leary challenged the philosophy, never do that which, if everyone does, will do harm to society.
I don't have any advice for anyone. I'm just simply saying that we're going to be broadcasting our ideas of hope and of confidence and of courage, and we don't say we're right, but God knows we're about ready for a new philosophy.
Leary attended college at the West Point Military Academy in New York. This elite fraternity oddly became the breeding ground for the man who would become famous for the philosophy, question authority, and think for yourself. After challenging the authority of his superiors, Leary was soon expelled.
I would urge everyone, and that's one of my basic mottos, think for yourself, question authority with your friends, and particularly don't obey authority until you've thought it out and then you decided that way.
After Leary received his PhD in psychology, he accepted a job to teach at Harvard University. Leary was convinced Western psychology had become ineffective because it merely studied human behavior but did nothing to change it.
I see the United States and the human situation like a nervous system. We're all in touch. I think the problem has been that we've gotten out of touch with each other. We've got to use technology to get into close communication.
He and his students took the drugs together and analyzed the results.
I've probably pushed my nervous system as much as any human being living. I've taken LSD over 500 times, and I've experienced a wide range of these biochemical and neurological possibilities. I think I'm the strongest, sanest person around.
The Harvard administration did not agree. In 1963, Leary was dismissed. It had been a century since Harvard had fired a professor, the last being Ralph Waldo Emerson, who was fired for telling students to leave the church and find their own God. Leary gladly left, claiming that his research was too advanced for the Harvard squares.
Our avowed aim is, of course, to bring down the American empire. It's completely materialistic. It's completely devoted to the pursuit of automobiles and television and, of course, metal.
Oregon, the prettiest little boy you've ever seen. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. I went to Stanford on a Ford Foundation fellowship. And while at Stanford, I was given the opportunity to go to the Stanford Hospital and take part in the LSD experiments.
And acting, where their lifelong friendship began. Soon after, other friends joined up with Kesey in what would become the most legendary adventure of the decade.
And we were on the beach at a place called San Gregorio in California, and that's also the night that the Merry Pranksters as such were born. That's when Ken Babbs started referring to us as the Merry Band of Pranksters, Intrepid Traveler as Merry Band of Pranksters.
And we were tripping, went outside, and there was a tree full of fireflies, just twinkling like mad. And we stood there kind of at the tree, and suddenly those fireflies all began to twinkle in time with each other. Pong, 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 because that was the vibe we were getting on, and those fireflies says, hey.
Famous. You know, Tim was obviously famous. I mean, he's written.
This is the old pointed head again, up in Communications Central. The debris has been cleared off the stage. We've taken a slight break from the hectic activities, and during the milling around period, I see that the band has gotten their equipment together, and everything seems to be operating. And with us settling back for some music.
The music at the acid test was played by some friends in a San Francisco band called the Warlocks. They featured a harmonica player and singer called Pigpen. And a guitarist named Jerry Garcia. The War Dead.
They played their very first gig, calling themselves the Grateful Dead, at the acid test. And it was one of those things that during the week, Jerry had come up with the name, and we all thought, hey, great names.
On their bus trip, the Merry Pranksters were ultimately heading to New York City, but they also planned a special stop a few hours north. At the wheel of the bus was Neil Cassidy. He was a legend of the Beat generation, along with his good friend and writer Jack Kerouac. In Kerouac's novel On the Road, the hero Dean Moriarty
Once more the hordes invaded the western coast. But I say it could, it would, it should, it could.
With Neil at the wheel, the pranksters charged out of New York City and headed north to Timothy Leary's Millbrook mansion. Kesey's plan was to unite the psychedelic tribes of East and West. This day in July soon became psychedelic legend. Tom Wolfe wrote a book on the pranksters' bus trip called The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. On the Millbrook meeting, he wrote, "Everyone was waiting for the great meeting of Leary and Kesey. Word came down that Leary was upstairs in the mansion, engaged in a very serious experiment, a 3-day trip, and could not be disturbed. Kesey wasn't angry, but he was very disappointed, even hurt. It was unbelievable. This was Millbrook, one big uptight piece of constipation. After all this."
Well, physically I was ill, so that I couldn't party as much. I came down, and there's photographic evidence that Tom Wolfe was full of shit, because there I was grinning my ass off, is that a bad metaphor? On the bus, with good old Dean Moriarty. Tom Wolfe's perspectives on life are very different from mine. I honor that difference, but he judges me through his own lenses. That's fine, he can do that.
We drove beneath the ivy and through the rocks and down the stately pavement to this wonderful house. And when we got there, we realized that we were the last things they were expecting, and probably the worst things they were expecting.
I was up sleeping and looked out, and there came this bus. Outrageous. Cartoons, and they had blown a lot of mines in the Midwest and in Oklahoma as they went through. And
Tim thought it was all great fun. He loved it. Took us swimming down there in the little river with the waterfall. Splashed water all over us, cooled us down.
The pond was a nice little, beautiful, flowing stream going over a nice little dam. And we sat there and water flowed over us, and it was beautiful, beautiful. The sun was glistening off beautiful young bodies. We climbed up out of the water and found that we were all covered with leeches.
Both acid tribes united that day in contrast. The pranksters' wild fun and Millbrook's soulful meditation.
we were influenced by European philosophy. Aldous Huxley and Gerald Hurd, and wow, we were awed, and Alan Watts, on and on. And Millbrook were wall-to-wall gurus, you know. So there was a much more middle-aged, middle-class approach.
They were getting high and fucking a lot. I hate to tell you this, but that's what they were doing.
In Leary's autobiography, Flashbacks, he wrote that when the day finally ended, Ken Kesey, Ken Babbs, and I did meet, quietly in my room. We looked each other in the eye and promised to stay in touch as allies. And we have to this day. At the end of the 1960s, the great psychedelic revolution seemed to quiet down, and many people wondered what had happened to its revolutionary icons. The Merry Pranksters bus found rest at Ken Kesey's farm outside Eugene, Oregon. And Timothy Leary was sent to prison.
I'm in prison now because one evening I was in a parked car and a policeman came up to the car and opened the door against my wishes, made a pass at the ashtray and said, "You're under arrest for," I said, "For what?" He said, "For marijuana." I said, "What marijuana?" He reached in his pocket. He pulled out 2 joints that I'd never seen before, half joints, and said, "You're under arrest."
After Leary was released in 1973, he moved to California and settled in the hills overlooking Los Angeles. Here he devoted the next 20 years to studying and promoting computers and cyberculture. In 1995, Timothy Leary learned that he had developed terminal cancer. The man who inspired the exploration of spiritual existence was now nearing the end of physical existence. But Leary looked forward to dying. This was his chance to move to a new level of consciousness, the last and ultimate trip. The 2 psychedelic gurus were reunited. Timothy Leary, Ken Kesey, together again to go further.
How'd you sleep?
Long and hard. I'll tell you, I take a drug. I take Excedrin PM, man.
Yeah.
Don't let your kids have it. I invite you all to come have a cup of coffee, because caffeine and nicotine.
While Leary went for breakfast, the other Merry Pranksters that made the trip began their preparation for the upcoming show. George Walker, the chief prankster mechanic, worked out a few kinks with the bus.
We're looking to replace the bolts that fell out of the exhaust manifold. And yeah, it's the same bus. It's just a different chassis and a different body, but it's the same bus. You know, it's Kesey and Babs and me and Hagen, and it's an international bus with paint all over it, and everywhere we go, people react in all kinds of fantastic ways, and it's what we do. We drive the bus around.
Also, Mike Hagen, who filmed the original prankster bus trip in 1964.
That video, well, then it would have been a whole different thing. We would have recorded it really instead of having to, you know, go through the old age process of rewinds and sound and sync chords.
And Wavy Gravy, founder of the legendary commune, the Hog Farm, where the festival and reunion was taking place. And, of course, my dad, Ken Babs.
I didn't know you were up, man. I thought you were still in.
Knee-bobs. Country breakfast.
Knee-bobs.
I love that.
Knee-bobbers.
Knee-bobber. I'm going to get it with bacon, okay? 2 eggs, potatoes, and toast with bacon. Oh. What's that?
Thank you.
What is this?
Milk. Cream. Or milk.
Here. I'm going to make you nervous.
All that lactose.
Oh, I love lactose. You ever sniffed it?
No, I haven't had a chance to sniff it. I haven't had it in the powder form yet. The non-dairy, I've
Don't
tried
knock
that.
it till you tried it.
Well, 1995 Hog Farm Picnic.
On top. Let's hear some talk on top. Time. 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 Time.
Like who's Ken Kesey? The prankster.
What else has he done?
What else has he done?
Yeah.
Kind of like this started like a movement for people to realize they can be free and be people who they want to be.
What exactly is going on here?
Well, we're waiting for the hog farm party to start.
He's like the Beatles, like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
What did he do, though? How did he get so popular?
How did he get so popular? I guess he used to just do his little tests.
Yeah, what kind of test?
His acid test. And everybody started learning how to love life.
What's the what is the whole point of the picnic?
Just it's a gathering of the tribes.
Get as high as you possibly can.
What do you know about Timothy Leary?
Oh, a lot of it's just LSD.
Oh, what did he do with LSD?
A lot of studies with it and experimented himself with it a lot. He is sort of a shaman who taught me things very early in life.
That's why I wanted to talk to Kesey in here to get the whole story, because I never even knew. I don't read books. I just know from read? Nah, I mean, I read, but the most things I ever read is like High Times, Butt of the Month, you know? Yeah. That's about it. Are you know? Everyone welcome Dr. Timothy Leary!
This is another warrior, a great, great damn warrior for a long, long time, 30 years of fighting and then some. He's been there and he's been upbeat about it every step of the way.
Well, there's a Moody Blues song that Timothy Leary's dead. No, no. I'm on the outside looking in. I'm going to be accelerating out pretty soon. Maybe 2 years, maybe 5 years, maybe 55 years. But, yeah. But what I'm doing is I'm living every day as though I were the last. And it's getting better and better and better. And this is a climax. We're so happy to be here. Thank you. We love you. Here's a poet shooting off a cannon. Yeah, right.
As the show went on, the merry pranksters dressed up in crazy costumes and prepared a final tribute performance for Dr. Timothy Leary.
Sometimes the light all shines on me. Other times I can barely see. But lately it occurs to me, what a glorious trip it's still to be, to be.
For Kesey and Leary, this reunion was not much different than the Be-Ins, the Trips festivals, and the acid tests of the 1960s. The generation has changed, but the faces have not.
The great thing is that every single person you see here, their eyes are smiling.
I know.
Their eyes are smiling. And they have wrinkles here. You can't, you have to earn those.
Smile wrinkles.
You can't just order smile wrinkles from your plastic surgeon. You have to earn.
I actually did see some kids that were as young as 15 with smile wrinkles around their eyes. That young, smiling that hard. It's a nice feeling. You know?
They were conceived on the full moon with the proper sacrament. That's right.
I've run in lots of enlightened people. They're a dime a dozen. No. But a warrior is different. A warrior is something doing something that doesn't quite make sense.
Ken Kesey is on a riff now, warrior, 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 which is great. And so that was his trip, and I went along with it.
I mean, look at Leary. He's full of enthusiasm and emotion, and he's got maybe a week. We didn't know if he'd get this far. That's the truth.
Coincidentally, the reunion of Leary and Kesey took place just 2 weeks after Jerry Garcia died. Jerry's passing was still fresh in everyone's minds and hearts, especially at the hog farm.
This is a warrior we're talking about. Rock and rollers are a dime a dozen. Guitar players are a dime a dozen. This is a warrior. Garcia had been fighting the battle for our souls and our hearts and our minds for 30 fucking years. This is a warrior. And the war's not over just because one of the generals happens to fall in battle. He would be very hurt if he thought that we were going to stop what we were doing just because he had died.
You know, a lot of people don't get appreciated until they're gone. And I think that Jerry was appreciated in his lifetime, no doubt about it. Almost too much. It was overappreciated, and maybe if he was not so revered and so much was expected of him, perhaps he would have avoided this pitfall.
Jerry was a very intellectual, thought-minded person. That's one thing about his music that's so interesting, is that there's so much thought in it. It's so deep. It's so deep that I think most deadheads may not even be aware of how deep it is.
I love him. I think he's one of the greatest people we've known in the century. I got dozens of reporters say, well, this means the end of an era, doesn't it? Human taboo mystery. What happens after you die? Technically, you're in exactly the state that the Buddhists say you should get into, of detachment. There's no more body anymore. Forget the body. But the brain, boom.
Is fantastic. You know, everybody always mourns and mopes about death, which Timothy sees as just another great trip. You know, move on to the next level and take the great one-way journey. You know, he's got a one-way ticket coming up to someplace else, and he knows that and is excited about it. He's looking forward to the journey with great anticipation and no fear.
It's the last taboo, death, and it's going to crumble because the most important, maybe one of the most important things you do in your life is die. How are you going to do it? I've been planning it, thinking about it, and learning about the possibilities for like 20 years in general, but in the last, since January when I found out I got my terminal notice, prostate cancer. And now I'm really thinking about it a lot.
What Leary is doing, as is shown in almost all of his life, is he's finding the edge of the envelope, and he's pushing it a little bit. And he has made the hole to light a little bit larger with every damn year that's passed. The more you know him, the more you realize this guy is an enlightened man, and as far out as psychedelics get, and yet he's completely traditional man who has believed in his spirituality. It just doesn't have a label on it, but nobody can doubt the fact that it's going on when you look into those strange little Irish eyes and hear the Blarney Stone teak out of your heart.
Part of the key to getting anything real done is sticking with it. And Tim has certainly stuck with it over the years. I mean, he has not deviated from his deviations.
And each religion has got their own way of making you feel like a victim. The Christians say you're our original sin, and you better, the way to just zip up your trousers and give the money to the Pope, and we'll give you a room up in the hotel in the sky.
Well, I know where we go when we die, but it's nothing to be worried about. It's no big thing. It's like puberty. It's like hitting the head with a ball bat. It's gonna happen. The idea is, are you gonna enjoy it?
As Timothy Leary neared the end of his life, he commented that he was lucky enough to ride the waves of 4 great cultural revolutions: jazz, acid, punk, and cyberspace. Timothy was fascinated with computers. Like LSD, he believed computers are tools for behavioral change, communication, and enlightenment.
And right now, it's happening, but in 10 years, it'll be commonly accepted that every school room will have a
Hey, now that's great, isn't it?
There we go.
How about that? Isn't that great?
Here.
Yeah.
Nice. We'll sit at the table. And
yeah, isn't that great?
Relax for a while. Party a little, huh?
Let's do it.
If Tim Leary dying on the internet brings audience, they'll be right after it. That's the pollution factor there. Is people have seen just about everything else. The last time I saw him, we were leaving. There was a lot of press there, and they all want to know what happened to the 60s, what happened to the 60s. And the 60s ain't over until the fat lady gets high. Now, everybody wants to avoid this issue, but talking about Tim Leary without talking about drugs is like talking about downhill skiing without dealing with snow. It's what the thing rides on. Leary knows enough about chemicals and life and death that he really is ready to move on, as ready as anybody I've ever seen. He's ready to move.
You have to admire the guy. Here's a guy who a lot of people would put in a nursing home, and he's at home in his own house, and not only that, but still working, and he's going to go out on his own terms. He's not going to go out on somebody else's telling him how he's going to go.
People want to always try to end pain, but not their lives. And if in the course of ending the pain you happen to die, that's not suicide. That's just tending to the wound, and sometimes you die during it.
We're bringing Tim over right now.
Get right up on close, Tim.
via internet. Are you there yet?
Can you hear us?
It's Tim Leary. We see you, Tim. I think. Where's my glass?
That's him.
You're moving very. Oh, you're moving very slow, Tim.
I'll fuck him up, yeah.
Hi, Tim. This is Babs.
And this is Keezy.
I'm glad we lined up and hooked up with you, man.
I know. Listen, we're traveling through spaghetti in the sky.
Well, we're doing it again.
Yes, we see each other again.
The same old fuck up, the same old trouble with the pasta, but we're coming through. Well, it's a very, very beautiful day, and we're in a Kesey mood, and we're ready to go further and further.
You know, isn't this an amazing thing, Tim? You remember when we talked about this maybe 15 years ago, that everybody's going to have the capacity to be in everybody's ear before long, and we're just about there.
I remember these seemed like wild dreams then, and it's just happening so fast. And
yeah, you know, all of this stuff has gone out to the newspaper in a way that all of our stuff has always found places in the press. It's because it's seeking another audience out there. All this equipment is allowing us to get out from under the thumb of the major broadcasting companies and build our own audience.
Yeah, and empowering the 10-year-old kid. The 10-year-old kid has got the equipment of a network now. It's thrilling.
The world's looking.
But it's strange, the reaction this has caused, Tim. I've caught a lot of shit about this stuff. And, you know, like, we've been talking about this a long time, but what the press wants to hear is the word suicide. You know it?
If the individual has this option, exercise the option, to make this decision, then everything follows from that. Rehearse your dying, practice your dying, do it with friends, and of course you'll be doing the same thing with your living. Practice living and practice dying.
Yeah, everybody's been asking me, is he going to do it this day? I said, I don't know, but I know if he said that he was, you couldn't take that because there's enough Irishman and prankster and Blarney in Tim Leary that you're never quite sure if you got him cornered. Tim, I bought this little bottle of old Bushmills here, hoping to get it down to you. We could drink it, but there's only about a half-inch left in it.
All right, that's a great grain drink, man. That's health food. That's health food, man.
Irish whiskey is the best whiskey in the world.
All right, well.
Makes you want to sing and bomb the English.
Yeah. Further, further, further. I salute you and your partners. You're the greatest guys around. Ken, you have enriched my life, and I take my hat off to you once again, my brother and my pal. Keep it going, brother. Keep it going.
Did you hear me?
I did hear you, Tim, and you know, one of the things that I will regret if it doesn't happen is to do a trip with you.
Yeah.
We may zoom down here and I'll help you on your way.
And we will get it on and high, high, high. How's that? Here we go. I'm going to go down and get the whiskey and the tequila, and we're going to play music where you can. Take care, brother. Stay in line.
Okay, man. When Irish eyes are smiling, sure it takes your breath away. Especially when you drink Bushmills in the middle of the day. Take it easy, you guys.
I'm going to be with you, man.
Okay, we see you too, Tim.
See you down the line. Stay in touch.
Good night, my brother. I say to you good night. Don't you wear your frown on your midnight flight. I love you, and I bid you good night. Good night. Good night.